Michael Kirby Hardaman. I've been in AFT 2143 since 1973. I first joined the union as a teacher at Warrior High School. I also was the board member here. I served as vice president for about 10 years under Vi Paramore. I was a building rep at the high school. I'm still currently serving on the executive board for the AFT 2143 union here. And I'm also on the retired teachers union here as a charter member. School was somewhat organized from the previous years when Dale, my cousin Dolan Hardaman, helped start the union. Had a lot of rough spots. You had people that still kind of scared to get into the union, and then you had administrators that kind of harassing you. You know, if you join the union, your tenure won't be renewed. You know, you get dirty details, stuff like that. It's being new in the union. It was hard to talk other people into the union because they didn't know much about the AFT. The other organization at that time was AEA, which was powerful in the state. And you had a strong school with members and with AEA, and you're trying to talk to people into join the AFT and tell them what it stood for and stuff like that. You faced a lot of hardships there because everybody was scared. And then when you tried to recruit someone, you'd have the AEA rep in that building. You know, don't join AFT, they're new, they don't stand for anything, they're not going to help you, they're not going to get you any raises, not going to increase your benefits or anything like that. But after we got into it, I'm always in for a good fight, you know, stuff like that. And I've always been a union person all my working life. And you could realize, you know, what the AFT stood for. It's betterment for your working conditions, your benefits, your wages, and also with your atmosphere of your teachers for teaching and learning situations to take place. That was one reason why I got into the union. And then in the summers, between school years, we would go to Roadway, Mason-Dixon, and we would remember the Teamsters union there, worked off the dock, you know. And then I had another brother, Owen Hardaman, who was local Boilermakers union. I learned how to weld, so some of the other summers I would go and work for the Boilermakers, you know, in between the years. So I've been a union person all my life, and I hadn't regretted it a bit. I know what it stands for and what benefits, the things they do for people. You know, it's not hard to understand if you really get into it and just get involved in it. Well, after Dale and him got out of it, or he went from school to school, I stayed at Warrior 28 solid years. And if you stay in one place like that, you can see the things that's happening with other schools, other systems, and particularly in your own school. You know, being the building rep, anytime a situation came up, they came to me, and I would go to the Vi Paramore or Jimmy Hollifield, who's helped me out a lot of times in different situations. But the atmosphere there, after you got people into the union, they realized, you know, what we stood for, you know. And then it's always been a constant battle between the AEA and AFT. We have harassment from principals, propaganda put out by the other organization, lies written out, put in teachers' boxes like that. That's things we always had to face. And they'd get a new flyer in the box. They'd come to me, hey, what's AFT going to do with this? We didn't know this out, and the AEA's put this out. And so I naturally had to call the president down here and get the lowdown on whatever they sent out. And basically what we faced was lies, propaganda, and harassment. Because you'd have administrators. If they found out a teacher, you know, get 3 years teaching before you get your tenure, they'd go up to them and say, look, if you join AFT, I'm not going to renew your contract. And see, a lot of new teachers wouldn't even want to talk to you until after they got their tenure, and then they could do whatever they wanted to do. But basically, most of it was harassment, propaganda from the other organization, and lies and threats. You know, we had people make some threats, you know, losing their job and stuff like that. But the AFT, and over the 28 years I taught, I've seen it many times that they've come to an individual's aid. And it's important, I can remember in my school we never lost anything. We always won the battle we had. They've come to the aid of groups of people in our school. That we had a little principal come out there, and he was going to rule the world and stuff like this, and we had to get 18 to 20 of our teachers together, and we had to let him know that where AFT stood and how they were going to help us, and we won that victory too. So we've had a lot of successes in individual things with administrators, county board, and also in group, like I told you. We've never lost anything. That shows you how strong our union is. I think my biggest success was, after 28 years, seeing what we started in when we had, I think my first year was like, we made like $6,000 or $7,000 yearly for salary, and seeing what the AFT has done for benefits and salary like that, to increase our wages and stuff. And plus, when I'm not taking credit for that, because all the members should get credit for this in our Warrior High School at the time, was we started basically from right at bottom and built a strong union at Warrior High School. We got some plaques out there on the wall that shows the Warrior was majority school in AFT. And I figured building up a good, strong school with the union, and what probably the biggest thing satisfied me was leaving school knowing that the teachers there, the professionals, and your paraprofessionals all had a good atmosphere to work in. If you get a good atmosphere to work in, then you got a good learning situation, a good learning atmosphere, and I was satisfied with that. And I think that I got a lot of gratitude out of that. Probably the person who influenced me the most as union leader that I can remember is Jimmy Hollifield. And the reason for that is he helped me in a couple of instances I had with different principals, you know. And I was impressed the way he handled things, real professional. Frank Ingram was another president I was impressed with. I've seen him handle situations for different teachers at our school and also at other neighboring schools around, so his name got around. And a lady that I am impressed with now is Vi Paramore. She does a super job to be a lady. She's one person you don't want to deal with. So I'm real impressed with her. Okay, one instance that we had at school that was really interesting was Dale Johnson, very good friend. We hunted together, fished together, and he was the AEA building rep at the high school, and I was AFT building rep at the high school. An instance came up where he had a situation with the assistant principal, and I asked him, I said, are you going to need any help? And he said, no, AEA can handle it. And I said, okay. So when they had their meeting, he had been he being the AEA rep and the assistant principal AEA, well, the representative came out from AEA, and they had a conflict of interest. And so the very next day he came to me and he said, do you have an AFT card? And I said, I sure do. So I signed Dale Johnson up. So when I retired in the year 2000, he became the high school AFT building rep, and he is now the high school building rep at Mormon Jordan High School for AFT. What I tell the next generation teachers coming up, I believe I would tell them, you really need to get into the union, because they really 100% stand behind the people that they support. And that you really don't need to be in education without some kind of protection. And I really don't think you can get any better protection than you can from American Federation of Teachers.